Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon your brothers and sisters. Today's video I want to talk about an experience that I had when I was coming back from Texas 2 weeks ago. Now, as the plane was ascending, it actually started shaking, and the reason for that was because it was going up the clouds. Now, I didn't know that back then, and immediately my mind jumped to the worst case scenario.
Don't look, doll. This might get hairy. Attention! This is your captain speaking. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we'll be landing immediately. The bad news is we're crash landing. When it comes to air travel, we know you have no choice whatsoever. But thanks again for choosing Air Penguin.
Now, obviously, that didn't happen, but I genuinely thought it might end up happening. And I realized that my faith wasn't strong enough. And the reason that my faith wasn't strong enough was because I was not reading the Risale-i Nur, okay? I actually when I went to Texas, I went to stay at a Risale-i Nur study hall, a place where you're supposed to go there and read and study the Risale-i Nur. That's what you're supposed to do. Instead, I actually spent most of my time there going to bakeries and restaurants and feasting on fine delicacies. And so I think as a sort of divine slap, as is said in the Risale-i Nur, I received a divine slap. I was punished by God. At least I think I was, for neglecting to read the Risale-i Nur. Okay? Now, the Risale-i Nur strengthens our faith. And because I neglected it, I didn't spend much of that time. I spent very little time actually studying the Risale-i Nur. Okay, so I realized much later that my faith was weak because I was not studying the Risale-i Nur. Okay, and this is the problem. And what is the solution is to obviously read the Risale-i Nur, but how do we get ourselves to dedicate ourselves to extensively study the Risale-i Nur? This is actually an issue that I talked about with one of the students there at the study hall. We were talking about this. He said that, many of us are just spending time on social media and playing games, and we're not devoting ourselves to the Risale-i Nur enough. And I asked him, well, what's the solution? And it was like a very Socratic-like dialogue. Some of you might know I'm trying to learn Socratic dialogue. So I was just asking him a lot of questions. And eventually the answer sort of boiled down to incrementalism, okay? To essentially implementing small changes, okay? He mentioned a student of the Risale-i Nur who was, for example, introduced to the Risale-i Nur. And little by little, he kept studying and reading it more and more and more until eventually he wanted to completely devote himself to it. It wasn't an overnight change. It wasn't something that happened right off, drastically. It wasn't a drastic change that happened overnight, okay? Now, the problem is that's something that many of us want. Whenever we want a change, we want it to happen immediately. But the problem is we're not used to that. We're not used to those new habits which we want to adopt. So in order to build those new habits, right? Or for example, specifically in this case, to extensively study and read the Risale-i Nur, we have to implement that incrementally, right? It's very ideal, it's natural to want to read the Risale-i Nur a lot, but if we're not used to doing that, it's going to be very difficult to, adopt that sort of change. You might be able to do it for one day or two, or a second day with an intense burst of motivation, but after a certain period of time, that motivation just ends up fizzling away, and you're back at square one where you're still not reading the Risale-i Nur as extensively as you would like to. So I think that's the solution. We need to implement incremental change. And another thing that I would like to talk about, and this is something that I realized later as well, is that this is specifically like about my life. Reading was really interwoven into my life during the COVID-19 pandemic, when everyone was confined to their homes. I spent a lot of time reading, and it became sort of interwoven into the tapestry of my life. I was a very bookish child back then. I loved reading. I spent much of my time, whenever I wasn't occupied with my school classes and whatnot, just reading. But eventually, I just sort of shifted away from reading. I was also writing back then, but I shifted away from that, and I spent more time, watching videos, and doing things of that sort. So, that sort of golden age was lost, unfortunately. And that was something that, once again, also happened incrementally, right? So you see a gradual shift towards reading and then a gradual shift away from reading. It's never something that happens overnight or just in a radical, immediate way. So I also wanted to talk about that. Now, I also wanted to mention that because um, this one time, even in my post literacy period when I wasn't reading a lot, um, whenever I honed in on certain books that I got interested in, I would be able to read that book, and with a lot of dedication, actually. I think like 2 years ago, I was reading Dune by Frank Herbert. I didn't really like the book that much because it was very Orientalist, but I got interested. It was still interesting, it was filled with these very heavy political themes. And I ended up finishing that book in just a few days. I spent like most of the time just reading that book. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to make a point here. As human beings, we have terrifying potential. Okay, we have the potential to do great things in life. Okay, and there have been people in the past who have been able to do great things, who have been able to build empires, who have been able to make groundbreaking discoveries. Uh, Really, people, all kinds of people who have been able to do these amazing things, and that's because they were able to tap into their potential. And I don't think that's something that they did immediately. It's something that they just sort of slowly, incrementally um, achieved, right? It was over a course. It was over the course of a journey, you know. So that's what I would like to say about this video. The bottom line is that we have great potential to do great things. Um, we should read a lot. Specifically, we should read the Risale-i a lot in order to strengthen our faith. And that's what I'll say for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.